Hello, this is Katrina McNair for Assignment 4 in Class EDD 814 with Professor Reason. Today's date is June the 11th, 2019, and we're going to talk about the differences between equality and equity. Now, the first part that we're going to talk about is from an article called The Differences Between Equality and Equity by Avan Patel, December 17, 2013. The terms equality and equity in the context of education and social issues are used interchangeably often, but there may be a way to think about the terms differently, perhaps to better guide the process of grant making. Equality stems from the word equal, as in the same. You cut the pie equally so that everyone gets the same amount. Equity starts with the premises that things are not equal, so the way in which resources are allocated should also not be equal. In other words, equity suggests to serve in a way that allocates resources based on need, whereas equality means everyone gets the same, arguably not closing any gap that may exist. Through the lens, then, how can we tailor limited resources in a way that can serve a broader audience in hopes to one day achieve equality? Our next question is, how does ethics play into the concept of equality and equity? This article from Equality or Equal. Equity or equality, moral judgments follow the money. This is by 3 different scholars, the Scholar Peter, Massenkoff, and Kurzban. Previously research emphasizes people's dispositions as a source of differences in moral views. We investigate another source of moral disagreement, self-interest. In 3 experiments, participants played a simple economic game in which one player divides money with a partner according to the principles of equality, same payoffs, or the principle of equity, payoffs proportional to the effort expended. We find first that people's moral judgment of the allocation rule depends on the role in the game. People not only prefer the rule that most benefits them, but also judge it to be more fair and moral. Second, we find that participants' views about equality and equity change in a matter of minutes as they learn where their interests lie. Finally, we find limits to self-interest. When the justification for equity is removed, participants no longer show strategic advocacy of the unequal division. We discuss implications for understanding moral debate and disagreements. So, for the answer for this, how does ethics play into the concept of equality and equity? Ethics is an important factor of how we should live our lives when we work and when we're not at work. And it plays a big factor in fairness and what is done right at work as well. The next question, best practices in monitoring equality and equity in the classroom. So this is an educator. This is from a book, an article called Equity versus Equality. 6 steps. Yes. 6 steps towards equity. So this educator talks about how she assisted another educator in giving her students equity instead of just equality. I coached Jane in her 3rd year of teaching 9th grade English in a high school with many English language learners. Her style leaned toward direct instruction, and she did a great job of modeling literacy strategies. One day, I observed Jane leading a mini lesson on paragraph revision. As I sat beside an ELL named Veronica, I noticed that her paragraph was one long run-on sentence. With Veronica's permission, I made a copy of the paragraph for Jane. What she did not realize is that This article further states that the instructor found out that Veronica was having problems with sentences. She later informed the teacher of another way she could assist Veronica in performing better in class before taking a test. This is one example of how equity is being used over equality. The fact that all of these students needed to gain an understanding of the subject matter, this teacher will now take the time to reinforce learning one-on-one. And the next question, discussion on and demonstration of a children's book that teaches either equity or equality. Well, I have chosen The Sneetches by Dr. Seuss. This book is really about equality. This book is about different Sneetches. Some thought they were better than others. Some had stars, some did not have stars. And those that had stars thought they were better than those who didn't have stars. Then a man comes in and has this machine and said, you can be just like they are, and gave them stars too. So those who had stars removed their stars. They didn't want to have stars. They wanted to be completely different and still be better than those who didn't originally have stars. Then the man kept changing back and forth for both sets of groups of people, to the point that they became so mixed up with some had stars, some didn't have stars, some had 5 stars, some had 2 stars, some had 1 star. And they later realized that all they had to do was come together to be one, because we're all equal. We're all the same. It doesn't matter if you don't have a star. It doesn't matter if you have 5 stars. It doesn't matter if you have 10 stars. We're all the same. And they all look the same. And at the end of that, they all became better off. And they learned how to live with each other in that way.